The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's a big day when we're talking about ufology. And I've just been kind of going over everything that's happened today a couple times just to kind of get a really good idea of what today was. As for those who don't know, today there was a hearing up at Capitol Hill regarding UAPs, and it was more about a whistleblowing than anything. And this has been something that it's going to be interesting to talk about, I think, because it might be incredible on the surface, but what about if we go a little bit deeper in it? And that's why I wanted to talk to our guest tonight, Erica Lukes, who, you know, when I talk with her, and I talk to her on a regular basis when we talk UFOs, because it's much more of a, dare I say, like maybe sobering sort of look at things. And I say it that way because I myself can get very easily like kind of like, let's talk about, all the like abductions and stuff like that. And I think that sometimes we need to have, when it comes to stuff like this, we need to have a really strong look at what that is, and a voice that is kind of helping, maybe challenges us to look at things a little bit differently. So, Erica, I've seen you on so many programs, such as Ancient Aliens. If you go to Discovery Plus and you look at any program about aliens, UFOs, stuff like that, you're there. You're there all the time.
Yes, I am.
So
we're about it all the time.
And it's awesome. It is absolutely awesome. And I mean, a little bit of a wooing over here, I have to say. But whenever I do, and if I'm watching with someone, I'm like, I know her, and they're just like, relax, and that's the appropriate.
Well,
answer.
Thank you. I mean, it's funny because I'll get messages from, all over the world, and I saw you on this and I saw you on that. And it's very kind and humbling, to receive messages, because I guess I just, don't realize how many countries these shows are shown in, but I'm really happy that I've been given over the years the platforms to kind of spread, to get people to recognize me as a researcher, historian, and somebody who genuinely cares about the subject, and to give me that, I don't know how to say this, to give me a chance to get what I'm researching out to the public now, because my views have definitely changed since the first time I appeared on TV, for sure.
Well, and it's, I mean, you're global. I mean, you got that going for you.
That's true,
and that's pretty incredible. And so when you're okay with coming on a little show in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, I have to say that that makes me feel very good, and I really appreciate you taking the time. And as we were talking before the show started, this showing how good of a host I am of this program, I didn't even know there was a hearing until Monday. And so when I asked you to be on the program, I had no idea whatsoever. And I'm just like, this kind of luck never happens to me. So I was so excited.
I know, it's cool. Like, actually, I'm really excited to be here with you tonight. And I really think the world of you. And it's so nice to always talk to you. And so I appreciate the opportunity. And, for me, like, it's like, I, when I first became public with the subject, nobody knew who I was, and it was meeting people, like that are honest and like earnestly trying to find out the truth and getting information out there, talking to people. And that's why I like what you've done. You're talking to people, you're getting stories out there. It's a learning process for all of us. And so I couldn't think of a better place to be tonight to talk about this.
That's so kind. Thank you so much. Before we get to talking about the hearings today, though, I think it's worth celebrating, because we're probably not going to have you on the program when it is a year, but we're coming up on a year on your nonprofit Expanding Frontiers Research that you said that started nearly a year ago, right?
Yeah. Yep, almost a year ago this fall, and so that was, and I've been so happy to be a part of this and to be the director of our nonprofit. I was approached last year by Jack Brewer, who is somebody that I've always respected. And at first, when I looked at Jack, I was like, okay, the guy's a little skeptical. He's a little harsh on people. But as I've, had my lessons in the subject, as I've met different people and I've seen agendas, my rose-colored glasses have been taken off. And I look at somebody like Jack, who has continually done the dirty work. He's done FOIA request after FOIA request. He's interviewed people. He's put people on the spot. He's done such incredible work that it was such an honor for me to join forces with him and UFO historian and archivist Barry Greenwood. It was just a wonderful opportunity, and we've done some important work that has received national coverage. And so I look forward to doing much, much more to shine a light on corruption, to give a platform for domestic abuse survivors. We're doing all sorts of things to talk about environmental issues. I'm very proud of the work that we do. Within the year, has it exceeded expectations that you would have put forth at the time of starting and thinking where you want to be a year from now? Absolutely. I could never have imagined that we would do exposés on Skinwalker Ranch, on different, the misuse of taxpayer funding for conferences in the area, looking at To the Stars Academy, looking at different investors and people that are looking into, again, kind of misuse of funding. It's been very incredible, especially for me as an historian, and having one of the biggest collections in the Western United States of UFO material dating back to the beginning of the modern era of the subject, and just have, research. It's a cool thing to have all of this. So I'm excited. And I would think that misappropriation of funds might be relatively easy to do, because if you're talking about, say, anything to do with like UFO research or anything like that, it seems like it's something that could be very easily, not checked up on very much and not followed through. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong there, but it just seems like it's something that's kind of a little bit more, like there's going to be a lot of people like, I don't know what that is, just do what you need to do, sort of thing. I think it's because it's such a gray area, you're saying, you've got organizations like MUFON or the Fund for UFO Research. Organizations that have been NICAP, kind of pillars in the UFO world. And yet especially with MUFON, there's not a lot of accountability. And because you've got the nonprofit that's based in California, and then you've got different versions of this, local chapters and things, it's easy to, something's going on over here, what's going on over there. Yeah. And so I think these are things that we look into. And once you learn how to do, different requests, grammar requests, or FOIA requests, you can dig into that. And also, if you're a nonprofit, these things should be available to the public. And when you train yourself to go through those public records, you can see inconsistencies and then move on from there. but people just need to pay attention. And I will say that I believe this goes on, and know this goes on not only in the UFO world, but with other nonprofits that center on domestic abuse or child sex trafficking or other things like that. So we need to pay attention to organizations that are claiming to be something and follow the money.
And keep them accountable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for those, I do ask you all, because this is very important. I'm going to put the link into the chat during break, but the website is expandingfrontiersresearch.org, and there is all the information that you need. There's videos, there's blogs. You can find out, who is on, who apart from Erica, who is working on this, and there's also an option to donate. Because like Erica says, and it's very important to say again, it goes beyond talking about UFOs. I mean, that's this show, we always talk about paranormal ufology, but this goes beyond that. So if you can, please take a look.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm so proud to be involved in this, and I know that we're going to be doing good work. And we've been doing lots of FOIA requests. So, and digging into specific things, we've got lots of groundbreaking things to come. That's great. And please keep us up to date with what's going on with that, and I can pass that along. This is very important stuff. It's I mean, just looking at the site now and stuff, there's a lot of information on here. Well worth just the time just to look for, even just talking about just even the UFO stuff and everything else. Just please take a look. expandingfrontiersresearch.org, and please go check that out. Thank you. So moving on to everything else that's been going on today, as we've been talking about, there had been, and was this a congressional hearing today? Mm-hmm. And because I thought so, I don't want to get it wrong, and because there's so many. I was looking for it on C-SPAN today, and you have 3 C-SPAN channels. None of them had it, and it was it was like so many different hearings going on. It just kind of makes my head want to blow up. Just like, well, where is it? And then I finally found it, and it's just it's pretty interesting what this is and what we are seeing with this hearing. And the hearing, basically, at least what we're being told about, was a former military intelligence officer turned whistleblower told House lawmakers that Congress is being kept in the dark about unidentified anomalous phenomena known as UAP or UFOs, alleging at a hearing that executive branch agencies have withheld information about the mysterious object for years. Can I just say real fast, Erica, who came up with UAP? I hate that term. You know what? One of my friends who is the executive director of NARCAP, which is an organization that's been around for a couple decades that has studied military, military and commercial aviation cases with regard to UAP. I will say that Dr. Richard Haynes, who was the chief scientist, came up with the term UAP when he was attempting to get scientists to take it seriously. So it's not. First of all, I'm not surprised that you're the only person I've ever complained to it about, and the person, and you're friends with the person who created that term. Don't you hate it when that happens? Yeah, I mean that's really. I'm actually not surprised. I'd have been more surprised if that wasn't the case. And I get it. I mean, UFOs has kind of that 50s sci-fi Saturday movie sort of cliche to it. But I was doing an interview somewhere, and they asked me, "What's UAP?" And I'm like, hell did I know? I don't. I mean, it's like, I know what UFO is, UAP, and so I sounded absolutely ridiculous, because they're asking, oh, and what is UAP? And I'm like, I don't know, some stupid government thing, I'm guessing, and it wasn't until, once again, being reminded, unidentified anomalous phenomena, so I do apologize, of course, because, of course, I'm going to be talking to the person who knows the person who created it. But you know what? I mean, I think it is interesting because there is a lot of debate about whether we should use UFOs, UAP. I mean, it's so I've heard that before. Like, I totally, no worries.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, it is truly one of those things where it is, they changed that on you. I mean, it wasn't until that hearing, was it last year or the year before? I forget when those hearings are, that was the first time I ever heard the term UAP, as the first time where they released that footage from the 2017 fighter, the camera of, I don't know if that was the Tic Tac one or what, but that was the first time I ever heard of it, and I thought, oh my gosh, UAP, and it just seems like, why don't we just stick with UFO? I mean, it might make people think of just only like Roswell and 50s films, but
also like flying, I mean, there are underwater accounts of things. And so I think it gives a kind of a broader perspective on the terminology. So you're including more. Well,
and that's true. I mean, there is that footage of like that. It goes like underwater. It goes into like some of that footage from like 2017 or whatever shows that it dips into the water as well.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, they don't ask me what it should be called. So, what?
I mean, it is, it's interesting. And over, like I've had Barry Greenwood, who's a UFO historian and archivist, his knowledge base is absolutely off the hook. But to hear him talk about the different ways that we've described this type of phenomena or whatever we're looking at over the decades, over the centuries. I mean, it is interesting, and you should check out my show and listen to specific interviews with Barry Greenwood, because he does talk about that, and it is fascinating to see that.
I will definitely do that. We've just been kind of skirting around it, but why don't we do this? Let's take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to really get into this congressional hearing today and get to Erica's thoughts on it. And don't forget your questions as well. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
The Tilted Tiki, located in downtown Stillwater, helps you get your tropical tiki vibe on with a large selection of fantastic tasting tiki cocktails served in unique and fun glasses, a menu of delicious food ranging from small bites, craft tacos, sandwiches, and more. Plus, don't forget they have live music Wednesday through Saturday nights. Located in downtown Stillwater, the Tilted Tiki is your tropical relaxation restaurant in Minnesota. Visit thetiltedtiki.com. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Now, did you see, and this is to the listeners and everyone watching our feed, did any of you watch or pick up on what was happening with this congressional hearing today that was all about information that had been kind of kept away from Congress regarding UAPs and regarding everything that's around it? Because the reason I ask, because we do have Erica on, and we're going to break this down with her right now, but I'm also really hoping that some of you will include your questions as well. You can do so in the chat. You just leave it, if you're watching us on Facebook, just leave it in the chat. We'll ask the questions. Erica can do her best to answer them. We just want to have a conversation about this. And Erica, I guess let's just be very, very generalized here. What did you think today? What did you think of today?
It was very interesting to me, and I want to just go back and clarify. The Nimitz Tic Tac encounter was 2004.
Okay.
And so I just want to clarify that. But it was interesting because when I was watching, I think we're excited because we think that this is another moment in time where we could peek behind the veil and where we could potentially be told that there is extraterrestrial life or there's some other life form interacting with us. And today, when I watched the hearing and I saw specific people, Graves, Fravor, Grush, there, and they were flanked by a crew of people, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, who have repeatedly over the years offered unsubstantiated claims about a lot of different things, objects, ranches, people. That was a red flag for me. It was also a red flag for me when Grush, who had mentioned, on different news reports that he had seen, dead bodies, aliens, all of these things, crash retrievals. And yet today when he was under oath, he didn't divulge the information that he has divulged on the press, which is a huge red flag. That should be a red flag to all of us. Here you've got somebody who is claiming to be a whistleblower, and yet there they are in front of Congress, this committee, and they're in front of the world, and they're claiming that they are so victimized, they've been threatened, and they are protected by the Whistleblower Act, and then they're not going to disclose what they did to the media. That's to me, that should be reason enough to not really take anything he's saying seriously, and people need to question that. I also, like I said, found it disconcerting to see two people, I'll say it again, I just said this, but George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, who have promoted fictitious stories like the Bob Lazar story, like Skinwalker Ranch. That doesn't send a good message out to the people of the world who truly care about doing good research and about finding something incredible.
When it comes to Grush and his inability to get into too much detail during the hearing, but as mentioned, that those details are much more available when he wasn't under oath. And I guess my point I'm trying to get at is, do you think that's simply because he was under oath?
Well, I definitely, yes, I do. it's a tough thing to go under oath and lie.
Yeah.
And I think that they were, obviously they skirted the issues, and I think it's pretty bad. Like I said, when you can go out to News Nation and different media sources and promote wild claims, and then you have the attention of the nation. You've got it. Well, some people who are concerned with the subject, right. and you've got this is your chance to talk about this and lay it out, and you've laid out the same old stuff that we've heard before. So I think that was a definite fail in that regard.
What would the point be of doing and having this hearing? Because the point that we're being told about is that that government is being kept in dark, Congress in particular being kept in the dark about this information, that there is that they didn't feel, and correct me if I'm wrong here, like Grush was saying that they didn't feel like that they could be transparent about what they saw without getting some sort of retaliation of some kind from either their peers in the military or their commanding officers. So if they're not talking about what's really happening, they're just doing broad brushstrokes, what would the purpose be of having a hearing like this to begin with?
Well, I think it's I would imagine it's a bit of grandstanding. I believe it's a bit of political theater.
Yeah.
I find that when you're looking at the overall theme of Jeremy Corbell, it's weaponize, weaponize, weaponize. We're hearing that a lot, in the media with regard to sowing discontent and distrust in our government, which is interesting. But I also want to say that it was very wonderful to see a bipartisan effort where you had both sides that were being respectful of each other and, wanting to ask questions and wanting to get people on the record to make their claims or run away from the claims that they've made. So I think that was a very important thing today in that regard.
And that's the part that I do keep going back to in my mind is that, I've been watching the coverage all day when, like on different news outlets, when people from Congress are being interviewed about it, and they'll have like a Democrat, a Republican, they're basically, arm in arm. They're really excited that they're doing this. It's bipartisan, but you still having Corbell, excuse me. He's doing, he's doing this weaponized stuff. It just seems kind of anachronistic that, these two things are kind of go against each other. And in my mind, the weaponization claims and then the bipartisanship. Do you think that there's people in Congress who are not fully understanding what's happening here?
Yes, I do. And it's to be fair, there are a lot of nuances to this subject. This isn't something that you go in and you read a little briefing by Corbell or Knapp and then, oh, okay. And granted, I will say I'm the first person to admit that I did that. That was when I came into this subject. I'd been reading books my whole life, and I didn't have the skill set or the knowledge when I became a public figure in the subject to really understand the layers of all of this. And that's something that clearly, I don't believe people are skilled in knowing, and they're hearing, things from people that are questionable, and they might believe that. And it would be really great if some of these people could reach out to people like myself or people like other researchers that have really looked behind the scenes, and hopefully their aides are doing that behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think, it feels like a little bit that like people like Grush is kind of banking on perhaps them not looking too far behind the scenes, where if you're just going off of what's being presented at the hearing just by face value, there's a lot of interesting things there. And, probably one of the things that is, in my mind, the most interesting is he had interviewed officials who had direct knowledge of aircraft with non-human origins and that so-called biologics were recovered from some craft. You know, that's the golden ticket, isn't it? That's what people want to hear. But
you know, it is, and I just have to like hold this up because I mean, I've got, you know, like I said, I've got a huge collection, and I go back through some of these periodicals and you know, research papers, and there's always been the myth about UFOs landing. I mean, this is Popular Mechanics, May 2021. When UFOs land, startling physical evidence they can't explain away. You know, I mean, this has been the narrative, yet nobody has actually proven that we are being visited by extraterrestrials, and today, or some unknown entity. And yet today we saw 3 men who I will say I have to respect their military service. Mm-hmm. That is really, you know, that is very admirable. But at the end of the day, where's the proof? Why go through all this when you are protected under the whistleblower status and you're not providing things? I'm sure to people that have invested a lot of time and effort into researching the subject, or people that care about it and think it's fun, we're probably very disappointed today by what took place.
We're talking with Erica Lukes. We've seen her on so many programs talking about UFOs, UAPs. We're talking about the congressional hearing today. I would be very interested, anybody who is listening, put a comment in the comment section of if you're streaming this, and let us know your thoughts. I'd be very interested to know what people thought, even if you didn't watch the whole thing, if you read an article, if you just were just taking part in some way, you're not totally invested, but you knew what is happening. We'd love to know your thoughts. Please put it down there so we could read those. But, you know, I think the one thing that I found that struck me when I was watching it this morning, and I've seen it commented on in different news sources, was a lot of like Grush in particular. He told a lot of what other people had experienced, not necessarily completely what he's experienced. It seemed to be a lot of like secondhand news, but they weren't there to actually speak at this forum either.
Right. That was all he has to offer, you know, is secondhand information. And I think that several major, you know, media outlets picked that up. I think most people that are logical could pick that up and just say, wait a minute, here's this big whistleblower testimony and it's all secondhand information.
Yeah, it really did seem that way. And you are right. I mean, of course you're right. You know what you're talking about far more than I do. I got the date wrong of the Tic Tac video from 2004. There was another one, though, from 2017, wasn't there, though, that was released?
Well, 2014, 2015.
Okay.
There were, that was the Graves story. So, yep, it is interesting.
The reason why I ask that, why I bring that up, and this is going to sound, you know, like I said to you before the show, sometimes the show can be a bit, you know, amateur hour AM over here. But when the thing that really struck me, and I can't remember who was being interviewed, but he had said something about where everyone was saying that these crafts were going thousands of miles an hour. That he said in one of the one of the videos, and I don't think it was the 2004 one. I could be wrong. I don't think it was a Tic Tac one, but it was actually like 40 miles an hour. That it wasn't going very fast at all.
You know, there have been different accounts of that and people that have researched that. I think Mick West has done a really good job at talking about some of that. And so, those things can be argued. And again, like where is the information backing up their claims? Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
You know, that's just their claim. You know, they should have all sorts of things other than George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell's statements that were submitted. You know, it's show us the evidence. The burden of proof is on the claimant. And so far, they have not produced anything tangible.
That they're kind of living off of the hearsays. And, you know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and it's also like, in my opinion, having studied this and the people involved and the people who are backing the people involved and the cohesiveness of this group of people, who are that are working together to do what they're doing. I don't know. They have a very good shtick.
Yeah.
They've got a good group of people that can go out there and probably at the end of the day, some financial backers. Robert Bigelow comes to mind, Peter Thiel potentially. And so it's a, slick production, but it's always the constant kind of theme. And I know Gresh today had mentioned that, he and his wife had been affected. He didn't come out and say by the hitchhiker effect, but I'm sure that's what he's alluding to, given the fact that he's involved with the same group of people. I'm sure that will come into play, but it's just, again, it's a lot of stories. It's a lot of distrust of the government. It's a lot of weaponize. I really have a problem with the wording and the way that Jeremy Corbell continually over the years has come out with this. Why should we be weaponizing the study of looking at another life form? And, I also want to just say that clearly on the record, you have NASA officials, you've got government officials that are throwing down the hammer and saying, we've studied this, we've seen the evidence, there is no proof that extraterrestrials are here. And yet those people are the same, Sean Kirkpatrick specifically, and they're the same people that, had a press conference, for NASA. These people come forward and they are being terrorized and targeted by the same, this group of people that have an online presence that stalks, doxes, and harasses people. And so, that's a real problem. You also have a figure like Lou Elizondo who tries to, he's got the big disclaimer up there, respect people, we want, A, B, C, and D. And yet by different accounts of people who have come forward on social media, they claim to say that he is kind of catered to people and tried to manipulate people to target and harass people. And I think those are pretty problematic things. I wonder what he would say on the record about some of these accusations that people have leveled against him.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Why should you dox, weaponize, harass people that have a genuine curiosity? Why should you sit there and stare down committee members? There's some problems here, and I've definitely tried to call that out. It's not what research should be about. That's not what studying something that is potentially empowering should be about. And when these types of things are happening, we need to raise our red flags and say, this isn't working. Verify your evidence. Why are you involved with people who are bullying other human beings? What is your end game? Why are you promoting year after year claims that are utter nonsense? Back it up.
Absolutely. There's a lot more here that I want to get into, but what I'm going to do right now is let's take a second break. When we come back, we're going to delve more into what Erica's just talking about. I'd still like to hear what you all think out there. If you want to share it, we'd love to see that. And we'll just continue this conversation about this UFO congressional hearing. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But, if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Are you one of thousands of individuals who know you have psychic abilities but don't know how to tap into your higher self? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refinedivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Did you know that spiritual awakening is not all love and light? Surprise! Inner demons, ego deaths, and tower moments are on the horizon. But while life might hand you some harsh lessons, we've got the antidote to soothe your weary soul. Why not try a dragon's blood bath? Or schedule a Reiki aura repair? With books, herbs, talismans, candles, and more, we put the Shazam in shadow work. Visit Magus Books at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis or magusbooks.com.
The Tilted Tiki, located in downtown Stillwater, helps you get your tropical tiki vibe on with a large selection of fantastic tasting tiki cocktails served in unique and fun glasses, a menu of delicious food ranging from small bites, craft tacos, sandwiches, and more. Plus, don't forget they have live music Wednesday through Saturday nights. Located in downtown Stillwater, the Tilted Tiki is your tropical relaxation restaurant in Minnesota. Visit thetiltedtiki.com. And join us tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We're going to have on Stephanie O'Reilly, who owns the McIntyre Villa in Atchison, Kansas. We're going to also have on John Marson, good friend of mine. He's been on the program before. John and I and a couple others just went to this McIntyre Villa. It was John's first time. We want to talk about that. It's a very special place to do paranormal investigations. We're also going to play some evidence that Stephanie has provided in the past for me. Definitely want to check that out tomorrow. That is a fantastic place to go. Stephanie's always fun. We're going to have a great conversation, so please join us for that. And then Friday is Casual Friday. We'll be doing just news. We'll probably talk more about this congressional hearing. We'll also be just getting listener feedback and everything else. So lots still to come this week. Please join us. It's going to be good. I've been talking with Miss Erica Lukes, and we've been talking about this congressional hearing today. It is very sobering, but I have to say, Erica, thinking about it a little bit more. First of all, there are a lot of people I know that they tell me they've been abducted by aliens. I don't even want to touch that in this conversation because I definitely believe what they're saying. I would never doubt them. They're very good friends of mine. I've seen some stuff I don't understand. But talking about the George Knapp stuff, talking about the Jeremy Corbell stuff, something that really popped in my mind when you were talking that I've never thought about before, that I know that you've thought about the entirety of all this, is that you are absolutely right. Everything that they bring to us is about conspiracy. It's very much a conspiracy dating back to the Bob Lazar stuff. That everything that comes to us from them is not even like a conspiracy of, do aliens exist? It's always about the secrets that the government is giving and stuff, or that they're withholding. And I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, and that's really a great point. I mean, it is, the occult. You've got all these, Roger Stone. You've got let's throw in some politics and let's, it's incredible to see, and then conspiracy, and then the FEMA camps, and distrust, and it's hard because there is something, I think, alluring. You look at the X-Files, you look at close encounters and some of these things that really had an impact on me growing up. It's fascinating to think about, and it's easy to get caught in that trap. And I always say, on my show, I've seen things that to this day I can't explain. As I've grown and done research, I've seen things that I once maybe thought were anomalous, but I can explain them now. But that's part of the learning process. And I know, having spent a lot of time talking to people who are very, very genuine about what they have experienced, I would never take that away. I can't, that's their own thing. And I really try to stress to people who feel that they've had these experiences to keep, write a journal of your experiences. Keep things, in my opinion, I think it's important to keep things close to your vest. And not turn to maybe the UFO or paranormal community to look for answers, because there are a lot of traps. There are a lot of people who are claiming to be something and they're not. And they, potentially that it does cause damage to people who aren't ready for that. And that's, for me, who I care about other human beings. I care about the people that I've interviewed, the witnesses that I've spoken with over the years. I've got a really special family that I have interviewed that live in the Uinta Basin, and I've interviewed them for years. They are people that I care about, and there are things that I just feel, as somebody who cares about them, I put forward publicly. I don't know if a lot of people really understand the repercussions of coming forward. It's a really rough thing to do. So just be conscious and be careful, and take your own personal sightings and want to learn and grow and understand the natural world around us. And hey, if I am mistaking Venus for a UFO, I'm going to learn, and that's great, because I'm curious enough that I want to explore, and I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm going to keep asking questions. I think those are really healthy and wonderful and empowering things to do. And I want people to feel empowered. And the thing I've seen with what took place today, and this group of people who are trying to, groom people to distrust, I think that that's not empowering. It's not empowering to take something that could be very meaningful to you and weaponize that. We'll just use, Corbell's wonderful original term. But, it shouldn't be that way. We should be empowered. We should feel positive. We should want to explore. We should, look at NASA videos and look at the wonderful things that they're doing to explore space, and look at the breakthroughs we've made in technology, and look at those things. And it should be a cool thing. And it can go down some dark holes when you start to follow people that don't have our best interests at heart.
It's an odd situation, isn't it? Because number one, like for example, this show itself, I don't really want to bring politics into it, but we're talking about a congressional hearing, so therefore politics are going to be brought into it, and perhaps what people may not understand is how politicized this whole UFO thing is in general. Just in general, and also just how, I don't know, it's just, I'm kind of losing my thought here, so maybe that's for the best, but it's, what I was going to say actually is that the term of weaponization, the government, is being thrown by both sides currently anyway, so it's like, it's just this is where we're going with everything. It just feels like there's just a lot of fear coming from all avenues. And I say that very delicately, Erica, because I don't want to get into, personally, I don't really want to get into sides or anything like that, because It doesn't get us anywhere. But the thing is, though, it's like now you're doing that. This isn't new, but now they're doing that with UAPs and UFOs. Right.
And it is a very volatile time in not only our communities, our country, the world. And unfortunately, with with social media and things we've seen, that it's really easy to mine data and then to use that data for political means, and to promote Russian propaganda. And I think that that's a really important thing. And I encourage your listeners to go out and learn, just Google Russian propaganda and the ways that specific people, China, Russia, have infiltrated communities. We had that happened here in Salt Lake recently. And so we have to be careful, especially when you're dealing with anonymous people on social media. You never know where you're getting your information. And that's not political. That's just being, that's being a smart human being in the world of hackers, in the world of disinformation, misinformation. You've got to understand the lay of the land and understand what you might be getting yourself into. And, when you're getting into an echo chamber, those aren't healthy things. That's not a healthy place to be when your beliefs are right or, wrong. Whether, it's just, you need to have opposing opinions. You need to have rational conversations. And this shouldn't be the exploration of something unknown shouldn't be, this volatile.
No. So I have a two-part question. The second part might be impossible to answer, right? So feel free to just be like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to touch that. But the question is, what we understood from today, that this is the first of hopefully ongoing hearings. What do you want to see with more hearings going forward, but based on you kind of expect what you expected to happen today, and it pretty much did. What do you expect to see happen going forward based on if it goes down the same road that it did under the guise of the folks that were kind of manipulating the hearing?
I don't honestly expect this to go much further because these people, again, were under oath.
Yeah.
And what they brought forward is nothing that we haven't heard in the public domain for years. And so now that that's on the record, people can do research. They'll be doing homework, and they will, I'm sure more people will understand that this might not be an area worthy of pursuit with regard to this group of people.
And I had wondered that based on the hearing today, and they're all saying that this is going to be the first of more, but if the hearings are nothing more than hearsay, then what's the point of more hearings anyway?
Right. It's just a diversionary tactic, I would imagine. And, it's unfortunate because we could get people that actually have something to say and things to present, to the public, to educate them about this. And, we've had, decade after decade, it's little green men, it's crashed flying saucers, it's, all of this stuff. And, where is it? Really, where is it?
Yeah.
It's really nowhere.
Yeah.
So.
No, I understand. And I understand all that. And I don't know, it just, even if we're not even looking at it from a politicized point of view, it just, watching it today was a lot of like, well, okay. And this is, if you're looking at it to surface, when they're talking about remains and stuff, it's like, you're looking at a government official, as someone who'd served, saying that the government has this. On the outset, that looks very good. But once you dig deeper into it, it's just, there is not a whole lot there to go off of. And why I bring that up is because I know that that's something that people are focusing on. I've had text about it today. Like, this is really cool. And I wish that it was cool, because I do want some sort of clarification on that.
I think we all do. This could be the most exciting moment in the history of humankind. Really, that kind of discovery would change the world. And, I have to ask people, would the bringers of disclosure, quote unquote, would they be George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell? I don't think so. Would it be, Lou Elizondo? I would hope not. So I would hope it would be people that are scientists, people that are grounded, people that, it just would not roll out the way it is rolled out. And I would really also hope that if we were in contact with an extraterrestrial, race, that we would have people that are very thoughtful and diligent and concerned and grounded about establishing relationships with something unknown. And yes, we can say it's a threat. It's a threat because yes, we can, hey, defense contractors are loving this. We can, say that we're protecting commercial and civilian, military and civilian pilots, aviation. We're protecting that safety, and we're going to, invent this platform. And you could spend defense, money on that. I mean, how convenient. Yeah. So it's just, there are lots of things to look at and lots of ways that people can make money off of this. And so you look at Bigelow and the $22 million that went into allegedly researching the paranormal. And we see where that got us. Absolutely nowhere. But it certainly got Bigelow and his group of people places. So
yeah. And we have less than a minute left, so I want to make sure that once again I remind everybody to please go check out expandingfrontiersresearch.org to see the nonprofit work that Erica is doing. I just want to make sure that we get that in there. And real fast before we go, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like that it's a lot of emptiness there, and I just hope that we get something more positive going forward sooner than later, because I think
absolutely.
I think
you know
we
what?
need
I
it.
think that we are we should be the positive. This should be empowering, and when it's not, run away. This should be empowering. You're absolutely right. And so that's my hope and my goal is to expose things that aren't in our best interest and to try to create a cohesive community where we're supporting each other and looking at potentials for amazing things.
Erica Lukes, as always, I really do appreciate the conversation tonight. Remember, folks, go to expandingfrontiersresearch.org to see Erica's nonprofit. Erica, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. You take care.
You too. Thank you all very much for joining us. We're going to be talking more about this on Friday. Tomorrow we have McIntyre Villa with Stephanie. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.